Welcome to the Kidding Finale After Show. What do you call more than one clitoris? Did Jeff just kill Big P? And I want to let you guys know that I am listening, and if you are listening, stay tuned because we have a very special guest on the line.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
We had to start with the theme song, you guys. What a finale. Like I said, we do have a very special guest. You guys, we will be talking to Raul Barrios today. And we have a very exciting episode to talk about. Before we get into it, I'm Steph Sabraw. To my left is the beautiful Mina Wahab.
Hey everyone.
And the stunning, talented Takira Shabrae.
Oh, thank you. Hi everyone.
Before we get into our interview, I want to get into some overall thoughts. What did we think, you guys?
Yeah, it's a little inconclusive, so I'm definitely excited for season 2 to know what happens with the end of this story and if it was real or not.
Yeah, very much so. And it made me want to go back and watch episode 1, and I know Mina will get a little bit more into that. So really nice episode. I like it.
Yeah, I loved it. And I'm really excited that we have Alex here talking with us. We'll also be talking about the Christmas tree lighting and kind of the after effects of that. And the finale, I guess the ending of the episode is where we're really going to be hitting and the messages within it. But let's get right into it. We have Raul Barrios on the line. He says his last name's so beautiful. I'm doing my best. Well, to start it off, thank you for joining us.
Barrios.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. Thank you.
I wanted to know just right off the bat, how was filming this season with Kidding? It was such a successful season.
Well, yeah. Honestly, it's surreal. You know, it's still kind of fresh. You know, in my mind. You know, a lot of the time that I was there, my mind was just like focused on like the work itself, that I didn't get a chance to really process things until like afterwards when everything was said and done. And then it was just sort of like, oh wow, this was really like, this is just so crazy. Like, I can't believe like this even happened at all. Like, it seems like a dream. Like, it just seems
Wow.
Like, I don't know. I just felt like that. Like, I was looking at my body. I felt like that's not me. Like, I'm in the universe right now. So this is, you know, it's, I don't know, crazy.
That's amazing. Mina?
Yeah, I just want to know, what was the funniest or the most interesting thing that happened behind the scenes with Jim Carrey? Because that must have been super exciting, just getting to work with him.
Yeah. So I can't recall too many instances where he did a lot of like funny stuff. Like, he said a lot of like wisecracks, you know. But the one thing that did stood out to me was actually the there was the scene where the episode where he pretty much destroys Seb's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we were doing like multiple takes, and at one point he just like looks at me, right? Because now he's already destroyed the office like about 50 times already, and we're like going over it over and over and over. So he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, how about this for an idea?" Like, and this was like right before we did another take. So he was like, "How about this for an idea? Like, you know, maybe I could just kick this random lamp." So like this lamp that, I don't know if you noticed in the episode where I come in, you know, and like Darrell comes in to reach out, you know, put his hand out for Jeff. There's like a lamp, that one lamp that's just there, that's just like nice and like safe. So in one of the takes, he like just gets up, like I pick him up, and we walk out together. And right before we walk out that room, he just randomly kicks that lamp, you know. And I know he told me that. I know he told me, but I felt it was just so like out of nowhere that I felt shocked. I was like, what the hell did he do? Like, I thought he was really mad for no reason. I didn't know if he was like joking around or if he was just like just being himself. I didn't know. So I was just like, wow, you know, like that's crazy. But like it was just because it's like afterwards we talked about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, man, that's how you gotta do things, you know. You just gotta break lamps, you know. So that's what this business is all about, just breaking lamps." So I thought it was like very funny of him to say that, and yeah, it's
Wow, that is hilarious. I love it. Well, I love that last episode was really your character's episode for backstory. And what really made us want to talk to you specifically about your character is the backstory. So were you surprised at the fans' response of your backstory, and how did you personally feel about the way Darrell's character came to light?
well, wow, I was truly surprised. Like I was truly surprised that the fans even like remotely cared, you know. So because when I read, you know, when I read this like the background behind him, like the character like Darrell, you know, like I mean he mattered to me, you know what I'm saying? Like he mattered to me because it's like, you know, that's an unfortunate circumstance. Like, you know, like I don't know, it's like I would say how often do you see that, you know, but you know what you kind of do, you know, a boy loses his father, and especially, you know, in his case, you know, Darrell, you know, he loses his father in a circumstance where it's like people know that, oh, well, your dad's a serial killer, or he killed 3 women. You know, I don't know if that constitutes a serial killer. I don't know, but in this case, in that universe, dad is a serial killer, and you know, I like what I wanted from that was that I wanted the fans to really like understand Darrell and gravitate towards him and understand his background. And I like that he was given a chance, you know what I'm saying? So he was given a chance to make better for himself rather than just succumbing to like the criticism behind, you know, his family, behind his dad. And even to the point where he still defends his dad because, you know, down to the bone, he believes, you know, his dad is a good guy. It's just, you know, one thing led to another, and it's just sort of like, well, you know, now here we are. You know, he made the choice that he made. But I was really surprised that the fans even like cared enough to like really like, oh wow, Darrell, like, you know, like Darrell, oh man, his story's so sad. And I was just like, I read it myself. I'm thinking this is pretty sad, but then looking at it like in retrospect, I'm like, wow, this is really sad. Like, jeez, like.
I think
like, that's great. Like
the
something
way
good
the
out of it.
fans like took it was they saw a black boy and a white man saving him. So I think that's the part that Twitter kind of blew up as why does it have to be a white man to save a black boy? Because that's, you know, from the outside looking in, that's how it looks. Do you see where they're coming from, and did you
Right.
realize it from before?
I honestly, in the beginning, I didn't see it that way. I didn't like. It's more of like I didn't notice, you know. But as when I first, you know, started, I wasn't aware of like the full details. You know, I wasn't let on the full details. I think they wanted me to go in kind of cold, which I understand because it's like, you know, for like many reasons. Part of it's just like their like time restrictions. But I definitely do understand where the fans come from, especially with that whole like, you know, the white savior complex. But I personally feel in this instance, it wasn't about a white person, you know, saving a black person. You know, like it's like, oh, I'm just gonna give you opportunities because I just so happen to be a white guy who has the opportunities to give out. I think that in this case, this was a human to human thing. You know, he reached out because he saw that a boy lost his father, and it's hard to not look like to. It's easy to not look at it that way, you know, because it's
Right.
like race and all that, and especially since Darrell, as far as I'm concerned, like is one of the few black characters in that universe.
Right.
You know, he's one of the few. Because there's many more, you know. So that doesn't help the case either. But I look at it as like, nah, he wanted to help. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come looking at it as well, he's a minority, you know, so, and he doesn't have the same opportunities and all that. So and I didn't see it as that, you know. For me, it didn't feel that way, you know. I
Good.
think he was just really genuinely like he cared, you
Yeah.
know.
This is
And I didn't think Darrell, from his point of view, didn't took it as like a white man trying to save me or anything like that. Like he's giving me a handout, you know. For me, the way Darrell, how he took it, I feel like he was just like at a place where he didn't know where to be, and it just so happened that he found the right person at the right critical time in his life that said, "Well, you can be here instead," you know.
Yeah, that's
So I
really
think
that's
that's
really good to
fortunate.
hear, because I think it's important. You know, it's so easy, like you said, to go to race.
I'm really
Jeff,
glad that it makes me so happy that Takira brought you on today, because it is such a different perspective to hear it from someone who's portrayed the role.
Right, yeah.
And I see your point definitely about the character Darrell, and Jeff Pickles is an exception.
Yeah.
In general, because he is such a kind-hearted man, obviously with some flaws, but in general he does kind of
Right.
forego that white savior complex.
Right.
But so super interesting. I know that it is
Right,
East
yeah.
Coast time, your time, so we do want to get you off the line, but I do have to ask, do you have any more projects you're working on, or what can we look forward to from Alex?
Well, I mean, aside from just all like season 2, you know, for kidding. As far as that, I have no news on that. That's still kind of like on the hush hush. Yeah, and then as far as projects, you know, right now projects they involve a bit of just art. So I have a couple of like projects that I'm working on with a couple of friends, and it's mostly I'm just taking my time right now, just sort of relaxing and focusing on my personal endeavors. You know, as far as art. I like to
Nice.
draw on my time, on my spare time, and you know, so a
You'll
lot of
have to
that
post.
time has been spent on just working on that.
You'll have to
Yeah,
post some pictures of your artwork.
I mean, one of these days, you know, yeah, one
You
of
know
these
what?
days.
I
I
did
mean,
have
I'll see
one.
what happens, but you know, for now, it's like, yeah,
I thought something very random, and I know we'll let you go. This episode, one of the writers tweeted that it would make you want to watch episode 1, and you'll notice a lot of things. Before I let you go, I want to see if you can address one thing that I noticed. I noticed that Darrell was eating a snack, snap cakes, on the desk. He snatched it away whenever Jeff Pickles walked in, and it happened to be the company truck that killed Phil. That was intentional, I'm assuming, right? Is there anything else that we can take from that? I pick up on all the goodies, all the snacks. It stood out to me. So, what tie was intentional in that scene?
what? So, what else? Like, what you're asking me for clues right now? Like, as far as like what else is in there for you to look at?
I guess clues
I
that
mean,
you can
no,
maybe.
that's
It wasn't intentional, and are there any other ties that we can expect from that snap cake snack?
Well, I don't know if there's going to be more because again, you know, the creator himself, that he's the creator. You know, Dave, this is his baby. Only he knows what it's thinking. You know, but as far as episode 1, I believe for me, looking at it from a person who's just like okay, I'm not only watching the show right as a fan, but like as a creative, I think of it as I think it was intentional. I think it's just like one of those like, you know, foreshadows or just it's like a motif. You know, it's like something recurring.
Okay.
You know, you don't think about it right away, but it does play. It plays a recurring theme. You know, it's
like it.
important. So I don't think I don't think it's like a by accident type of thing. I think it was purposely there, you know, set up that way. So, which I thought was pretty clever. When I afterwards I didn't notice either. I just so happened to like eat those cakes, not really thinking about like what it meant. because it's free coffee cake. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat this. They
Nice.
gave me a whole box just
I
for that
just-
one scene.
I just have
We had,
one.
after many takes, they were like, "Are you tired of this?" I don't know.
Mina.
All right.
I just have one last question. I just want to know like the overall like overarching message that you took away watching this show. Like what's something that really stuck out to you? Something that may not be as obvious, but something that really resonated with you about this show.
Good question.
Yeah, my takeaway from this show is that it's just, you know, this is what happens when you don't process, you know, when you don't process grief correctly, like a proper way, you know, you think you're doing more good, but you're actually doing a lot harm, not only to yourself but to the people close to you. So, you know, my takeaway from that is just like, if you're hurting, you know, really try to reach out. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times we try to mask our pain by, you know, trying to be like a really strong, you know, like almost superhero figure. And it's like, sometimes it's okay to break, you know? It is okay to break, you know? You got to find, it's find the right people to surround yourself that will allow you to break, but then help you rebuild yourself, you know? You got to, and it starts with you, but it's just the whole thing is just the whole, like, just family, you know, family connection, you know, the overall general human connection. That's like my overall takeaway from it. It's just establishing general human community, which,
I love
you know,
it.
you gotta be honest with yourself when it comes to like your emotions, you know. So
Wow. Amazing point.
I
Beautifully
think
said.
we're gonna see maybe more of that. I'm not sure.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you
No
so
secrets.
much for joining us. You have
Pretty much,
been so awesome. You were so
Yes.
awesome this season playing Darrell. Such a pleasure to have you. And we hope that we can have you maybe in person next season.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, definitely. Man, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Where can they find you on social media to continue the conversation?
Twitter and Instagram. You can, you know, same handle, Alex R.A. Barrios. You know, both mostly on both of them at the same time. So yeah, you know, you gotta roll the R's a little
Barrios.
bit.
Nice.
Barrios.
I've got it.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Alex, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
I love what he was saying. It actually wraps perfectly into what I want to talk about. Like the show just hit so many overall themes, and exactly what you were saying, those little anecdotes that you can place from the first episode all the way to the last episode and throughout the entire, the storytelling was amazing, and props to Dave Holstein. I mean, it is his baby. It's
Amazing.
amazing. I really want people to catch on more to the show because I think there's nothing like it. It kind of reminds me in the sense of Barry on HBO, where it's a different realm of genre.
Oh,
You can't really
nice.
place it in a box. We don't have that much time, so let's really get into it.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree lighting, the live event, we knew this was kind of going to be intense, but it took a way different way than I even thought. And I really want to, he basically was saying that he acknowledged that he wasn't a great father to his son Phil. He now sees his worst qualities reflected back into him in Phil, and then he couldn't handle it. And that was even seen with the seatbelt, which we mentioned. That kind of that lesson wasn't reinforced because you weren't parenting really. And he basically said every parent is not listening. What is your guys's view on this? Do you agree this is how parents are kind of handling their children nowadays? And do you think Jeff handled this live event well?
Nope. Go ahead.
I mean, I think parents are getting better at listening than maybe when I was a kid growing up, because I think it's shifted more from when a kid asks, why do I have to do this? Oh, because I said so, to well, this is why you have to do this, honey, because it's going to help you in X, Y, and Z manner. I think more parents are learning to adopt that style of parenting where they actually explain why they do the things they do. Not everybody, and I was like I am first generation American, so I kind of grew up with like a different dynamic of like, no, this is how we do things, and people, there were no explanations for why things were the rules, and I think it's really important to tell kids why it is they're being punished, why it is they're being treated a certain way, and not just seeing things as the status quo, because that not only is good for their critical thinking skills, but it's also good for them to understand the place that you're coming from as a parent when you're doing the things that you do, and it allows them to think about it in a different sort of way.
Wow.
So I think it's actually getting better. I think parents are listening more now.
I have to
Controversy!
Yeah, I have to respectfully disagree. Only because this show screamed to me like, and maybe because I work in the technology company and I see it way too often. Heck, to be honest, my paycheck thrives on it sometimes. But whenever a kid is
giving them
acting
a piece of
up,
technology.
giving them a tablet,
Yeah.
and like this is the epitome of that. It's like Jeff is saying my TV show, and they even said it in episode 1. Again, I rewatched it, and I'm like, light bulb. They said it like Jeff raises these kids. It raises these sons and daughters via TV, and it's just the epitome of a parent giving a child a piece of technology to let that technology raise their child. And I feel like it's completely cut off the communication vessel, like blood flow of being able to talk. And that's why this society, why I feel like the kids nowadays don't feel like they're heard, which then results in internal feelings kept, which then goes down to maybe suicidal thoughts or mental health issues. And it's just a snowball. And I think that was the intentions of the show. Again, you know, we have different views, and that's amazing. That's why I love these ladies. But yeah, I think that's the highlight that it was giving for sure. So
I love that perspective. I agree and I disagree, just because even though social media does do that, it also serves as a platform for kids to express themselves in ways that maybe they weren't able to before. And even though, like, yeah, we're connecting through social media, I think it offers an opportunity for kids who are otherwise very shy and not really great at those interpersonal skills at first to be able to make friends through the virtual realm. And in a way, like, it is a blessing for those kids, at least,
for sure.
for them to be heard.
Yeah,
Moderation.
I mean, we even find out finally what he recorded for the dolls, which is I Am Listening. And I think that there's multiple themes at play here. I think one of them, though, is our ability as adults to cope. And when we don't cope with our issues and we bring children into the world, we neglect, and that's really selfish at the core. But it's hard because we're human and we all like need our own time, but you brought life into the world.
amazing.
So it's really interesting about the parenting in this day and age. And then basically it leads to Darrell actually and Seb think Jeff made the biggest mistake. And that was really interesting seeing Darrell tell Jeff you made the mistake. And then this is probably one of my favorite scenes of the season. What we see happening was Jeff spoke to his audience, the kids, and who came to support the kids. They lined up in the masses to talk because their parents weren't listening.
It's like the new Santa Claus.
I loved it. I was like, this is literally child therapy at its finest. And I like had this light bulb moment, like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that for kids.
I loved Mina's reaction. I was like, oh, I love it. She was like, oh my gosh.
It was very sweet. I loved it. And I loved that, like, Seb kind of took on a different role. And he waited in line. He actually waited, didn't just barge in there.
I love
and
it.
when it was his turn to go, he's like, okay, your turn, my turn to listen. It was it was so beautiful. Like,
It was amazing.
And that's why I always said, like, yeah, Seb seems like an asshole, but at the core of him, I do feel like there's, like, this really beautiful heart in there that's just been hurt.
It's
I
just
don't
broken.
think he's a bad person.
I agree. I definitely agree with you there for sure.
Yeah.
And he's shown it. I'm so glad he did.
Again, I think it has to do with our inability to cope, and then you get these issues and characteristics and form a part of your personality that isn't, I think, at its core, like mental illness and different things like that. Before we move on to kind of where Will takes this, and Jeff and Deirdre and Jill actually played a big, kind of silent part, but big part. Takira has a message for us.
I do, AfterBuzzers. So you already know, we've said it all season long, that our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve our television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. And by subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that is tailor-made for just you, and you will help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about those pesky notifications, do not be, because they're completely optional. So hit that subscribe button now right below for this channel, and check out some of our other YouTube channels as well. Let us know that you did, and we will thank you on air. But for now, thank you for being the best fans out there and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yes, we love it. Okay, so Jeff and Deirdre have this moment. The whole latter half of the episode just went crazy, and there was a lot of aha moments and a lot of just like, what happened? Like Mina said, she was kind of unsettled at the end. Jeff and Deirdre have this talk. He comes to her for help, and she says she doesn't know how to help anyone. And then it gets into this point where I feel like is a very important part of the season. It kind of brings together the whole idea of the Puppet Time show, and she goes into describing how characters in her life are replaced by like the puppets, like they're inspired by them. And she considers the divorcing secret chef, the peanut butter and jelly puppets perform the two-person magic trick, Jeff and Viva Las Pages, and then the heart is based on Jill. What did you guys think about this little tie-in? Did you guys want more of this throughout the season? Because I kind of felt like I want more puppets.
Yeah, I agree. It made me want to go back and literally put a name to each one of the puppets and what was Dee Dee thinking during that time. And I love the heart. I never would have thought that. And I even took it kind of into an Inception type of thinking, was those interactions between the puppets. Were they real? Were they were we just imagining them? But I don't think that it went that deep. But I was really entertained. I loved it. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I feel like the puppets are the one way that a lot of these characters can fully communicate their authentic selves to other people, which is so weird that you would need a vessel to be able to express your true self. So yeah, I'm all for the puppets.
Okay, let's get into the big finale. So originally Will sees his dad speaking at the tree lighting event and is actually like very into it. Like you can see like something clicked and he's like, that's my dad. That is the dad I always loved. And he goes and then he gets discouraged in the line and kind of just gives up on it. Actually puts the Jeff doll in a noose.
I don't get it. I don't get where the anger came from.
I think it was that even though he said he needed to start being a better parent, he then became America's dad. Like
he put the other kids before him.
Yeah, still even after saying that.
Well, dang, dude, wait in line. Like,
so he goes to the party. I don't know. What do you guys think about Will? Is it just, I feel like he's just trying to find himself, and it's hard to really conceptualize that what his dad is doing is for the greater good in a sense.
I think it's hard when you go through trauma because, like, one of the things is that you can start to feel like life has no meaning when you lose something just in the blink of an eye. So I think for Will, it's like, well, what is the point to being good? Like, I don't want to be bad, but why should I be good if, like, bad things can happen to good people? I think he might, like, have that mindset just seeing his twin brother ripped away from him just like that. Because it's hard to process that level of trauma. So for him, it's like, yeah, I don't think he's a bad kid. It's just like, how do you deal with that? And like, how do you keep going? And you see everyone around you crumbling, your mom still processing the grief, your dad still processing the grief. Like, who do you have? Like, who can you talk to? So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, he ends up going and getting his girl back at the abandoned house that Jeff still owns. And Big P hears the music. He walks in, and he's not disturbed by Will getting his Mac on. He's disturbed by the fact that he knows that Jeff bought this house. He comes outside and he sees him, and they have this talk, and it seems like this really inspiring talk because everything Jeff was saying I did agree with. Like, you do want to hate Peter, but he is great.
Right.
And then the ending.
And then.
Okay, let's talk about this. What does this mean? Is he dead? What do you think was the moment that clicked for Jeff, that the anger? Like, what turned that on? What part of it?
Marijuana. Like, here you are saying that I'm telling you that I trust you with my freaking son. And then the whole reason that he's probably smoking weed is because you two probably lit up a doobie to talk about a girl. And I feel like he could only think that here I am trusting and you got my kid on weed. So of course he's going to run him over.
Yeah.
I probably would have ran him over too.
I was like talking to Takira. I was like, is he going to run him over? Like, I was just kidding.
We called
like,
it. She was like, hashtag kidding. Hashtag kidding. No.
Seriously though, I was just like, what the, because I was joking. I was like, okay, he looks like a little crazy. I feel like he's going to run him over. But when it actually happened, I was like,
I looked at me and I was like, he's gonna kill him. I was like, yep, he's gonna kill him. And then like just 5 seconds later, it was like,
just injure him. I
was like, yeah, okay.
I took it a completely different way.
Really? I don't think he's dead,
I guess
though.
it's because I've actually like literally spent the weekend speaking with cancer patients and survivors about weed. So I just have like a totally different perspective of weed. And like, I get that he might have thought that he was introduced to it by Will, but also you saw his friend group.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think he's dead. I think it's going to be a Lipinski type thing.
First of all, how the heck did she survive that? I was a little disappointed weirdly. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Tara. So sorry.
Tara, I know. I was so surprised. See, this is why the storytelling of this season was so great. Everything tied up. There was no loose ends that I could find, and I'm like really annoying about finding loose ends.
I feel like there are loose ends.
No, I'm saying like
now, though.
Every piece introduced was not just left alone. We got a little bit more added to it. Do we have full answers? No, but nothing was just like put in and not purposeful.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's
like
what
everything
I mean.
had like a
everything had a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get down with that. I'm cool with that.
So before we get into our final thoughts, let's get into our Jim Carrey gem. We have a very special one by Mina.
Yeah, let's do this. So this is the Netflix documentary called Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. And it's actually about the time that Jim Carrey, it's about the movie Man on the Moon, which is a 1999 film. This is the end of the documentary, and it's where Jim Carrey was basically talking. He basically says something like, I didn't know who I was when the movie was over. I couldn't remember what I was about, because he had so fully transformed into the character that he couldn't really differentiate between Jim Carrey and Andy Kaufman. So, yeah, I just thought that was, we're like watching the footage right now, and that's him portraying Andy Kaufman, and it's definitely method acting in the sense that like he was him the entire time, never went out of character. It was true acting at its finest. And in this end clip, he's talking about something that was really relevant to the show Kidding, where he's like, we're born with a certain name, like our name can be Joel, and then we have to live up to that expectation our parents randomly place of us of like, what does it mean to be Joel? And then we have an expectation of us to either go to Harvard or become a doctor or do this or do that. And right now he's talking about like, am I American? Am I Canadian?
Like,
what
why?
does that mean? Someone put a line down and said that this is what you are. So he's kind of talking about how in life there are all these things that are social constructs and things where it's like we like ascribe meaning to these things that otherwise would have had no meaning. Like in nature, it exists without meaning, but we assign this value to it arbitrarily, and it means absolutely nothing. So kind of about stepping away from that and really discovering who you are it's just, this show is so good. This documentary is so good. It's
Mina's been talking about it.
Yeah.
I want to like ditto this documentary. Like, it blew my breath away. I love that back when they were filming this movie, so many people were against like letting this documentary come out because like no, Jim Carrey's going to be looked at as an asshole. He's not going to be looked at as a sane person. Like, do not let this documentary out, which is why it kind of took so long. But the fact that he just embodied this character so much so that Andy's daughter came to visit Jim Carrey, but as Andy, because she had never met her father, Andy. He passed away before she could really get to know him. And he embodied this character so much that Andy's real brother and father and daughter came to set and like was having interactions with him, and the daughter wanted to have a conversation with her, quote, dad. And Jim put himself in that character so much that he was acting as if he was having a conversation with his, quote, daughter. And there's a moment in this documentary that even Andy's father got upset with Jim, not at Jim, but at Andy, quote, Andy, for something that he did. And he was like going off on him like a son. He's like, you always do this. And like saying things like that, not necessarily that phrase, but he was kind of like, you do this. And I'm frustrated with you. And then he's like, I'm not frustrated with you. It's because I love you. And it's almost like
a therapeutic.
Yeah. So
Wow.
In my mind, I'm thinking, I kind of wish somebody could do that for everyone, right? Like, there need to be more geniuses out there that do method acting.
So interesting. I
It's so
literally
good,
have the chills.
I'm so glad you watched it.
I loved
Like,
it.
yeah, Steph, you
Oh,
would
girl,
love it.
No,
love
I
this.
know I would love it, and you're so right. It does tie in perfectly, and it's just like a reminder that Jim Carrey playing this role as Jeff Pickles is does it absolute justice.
It's for him. It's not for anyone
I
else.
can't tell the difference between Jim and Jeff at this point.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Absolutely.
it's amazing. Wow, that just really blew my mind.
Thank you
Okay,
for that.
let's get into some final thoughts, you guys, about this episode, about this season, and what we're looking forward to. We don't have that much time, but this is important.
Yeah. I just want to say, out of all the episodes, the pilot was by far my favorite because it was the introduction of something that I've never seen before that was so cool, so profound, and just like the concept of like Dave Holstein trying to get this made. You know, it's so hard as a writer to get your script even looked at. To have Jim Carrey be like, I'm gonna do this, kudos to you. That is the dream right there. So we are all very impressed with your writing and with how this show came about. And I do want to echo like Steph's sentiments when she said that everything is so full circle and the loose ends are tied on this show. Because even at in the very last episode, we have Pickles son saying Allahu Akbar. And it just is like that comic relief that ties it all together. Like, wow, we just had an explanation from Mr. Pickles saying what Allahu Akbar meant and that it's not a scary word. And then in the finale, it's the reason why everyone just scrams.
He's just trying to light the tree.
Yeah,
Let him light the tree.
It was so funny. I was
Poor
like
guy.
dying at that scene. So I love all those like little like gems that are interwoven throughout the entire series. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so excited for season 2. So congrats on having that greenlit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just want to add on top of that it's not often that we get shows like this. This show took extreme risks with topics that are so taboo, with situations that are so taboo, and I appreciate that they find a way to speak on it, to highlight it, and then like you guys said, or you ladies said, just bringing it around full circle to teach us a lesson, no matter what age, although kids don't need to be watching this, but I love that aspect of it. The writing there is so genius, and I appreciate, like you said, just the backstory of how he got the show on TV, like how it's beautiful. So Jim, we love you. You are a phenomenal, epic soul. I'm not going to say person. You are an epic soul, and we cannot wait for more things that come of him. Just
That's
You
great
know.
because
Yeah.
Jim doesn't exist. No,
He doesn't exist. It's
Yeah.
a soul.
It's
and
a soul.
We appreciate the vessel that you're borrowing temporarily on this earth. The more you know.
I do want to say I totally to your point about how many hoops this show had to jump. Dave Holstein on his Twitter, he has this pinned tweet I love so much. A judge from the Austin Film Fest rejected a pilot I submitted to their TV contest, calling it muddled, totally inconsistent, and unfunny. It premieres September 9th on Showtime, starring Jim Carrey. # share your rejections.
Yeah.
So definitely share your rejections. Final notes. I cover a lot of shows here at AfterBuzz. This is one of, if not the only one, where everything really hits for me. The dialogue really hits. I'm constantly writing down quotes, and then finding myself writing the entire piece of dialogue back and
Yes.
forth. I'm looking into what the messages are really telling me, and it's not like too obscure, but it's not too obvious. So it's something to look forward to, and like kind of hidden gems that I'm looking into. Gems.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Just the acting, everything was so great, and I'm really, really looking forward to season 2. We do have to wrap up. Until then, where can we find you, ladies?
You can find me, Takira Shabrae, on Instagram and Twitter at Takira_Shabrae. And you can find me on Wednesday nights on The Tomorrow Show under the Not Sam Network with Keven Undergaro.
Ooh. And I'm Mina Wahab. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Mina Makes Magic.
I'm Steph Sabraw. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw. Thank you guys for tuning in all season. We can't wait for season 2. Until then, keep talking to us. The conversation's not over.
Yeah.
And we're not kidding.
We're not kidding.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.